like just completely crazy,
Right.
and like they just have like this mystical misadventure in Doctor Strange's house, because Moon Knight ends up being right about something. And then Spider-Man's like, wow, he's crazy, but he's a trustworthy guy.
Right.
And they become friends, and then Moonlight just vanishes. And then Doctor Strange comes back, and he's like, the fuck happened to my house? And I want that, but I want Doctor Strange to stay.
Yes. So your answer to, other than Moon Knight, what would be your perfect comic book adaptation was Moon Knight. So now we know.
No, it was Moon Knight
with Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. Oh my god. But yes, Jake's is Moon Knight, and now he's already gonna get it. At the filming of this episode, it's already happening. Like a kid that peeked in his Christmas presents.
You're welcome.
So
what about you?
So mine are, I would love to see a DC animated adaptation of the Nightfall to Night's End comic book arc, which
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that for me?
I'd like to see a DC animated, version of like the Nightfall to Night's End comic book arc. Which, for those of you, are they? I did not hear anything about that.
I'll look it up. But
oh my god, if that's happening, that would be fantastic.
I will confirm if that's
true. So
true.
for those of you that don't know, Nightfall was essentially where Bane was introduced into Batman. And it has some similarities to what they've done in The Dark Knight Rises and what they've done in other animated things that feature Bane, but they've never done exactly that plot where Bane escapes from prison and he has these visions when he's a child of a giant bat, and he's like, I have to find this bat and kill it. And he goes to Gotham City once he breaks out of prison because he hears about the Batman there, and he devises this ingenious plan to break the Batman and become the ruler of Gotham City, where he breaks all of Batman's villains out of Arkham Asylum, and they're all escaped at the same time, and they go on a rampage, and just one after another, there's these amazing issues where Batman has to face off against his best villains. Like, Scarecrow and Joker have this thing where they get the mayor, and the Joker's just making him make prank phone calls, and, like, Scarecrow wants to get something out of it, but he can't get the Joker under control, and, like, that's fantastic. Mr. Zsasz has a great comic. Firefly, who is a really underappreciated Batman villain, gets a great story. Bane makes his appearance in Gotham City by breaking Killer Croc's arm. Like,
amazing.
Just, there's so much cool shit that goes on. And then, finally, he goes to the Batcave because he's known who Bruce Wayne is the whole time. And when Batman is literally too tired to fight anymore because he's had to fight, like, all of his famous rogues gallery just one after another, night after night after night, he's too exhausted to fight anymore. Bane just walks into the Batcave and does the classic snaps Batman over his knee and breaks the bat. And then it continues from there into a story of Batman passing on the mantle, now that his back is broken and he's paralyzed, to this other superhero named Azrael, who is this very unstable individual who, when he puts on his costume, becomes this, like, avenging angel who definitely kills people and, like, is a very different character than Batman. But Batman at the time was friends with Azrael, and so he gives Azrael the mantle of the bat, and Azrael makes this fantastic robotic Batman-looking costume with these big claws, and he goes out and he starts cleaning up crime, and he beats the shit out of Bane, and he throws him down onto the streets of Gotham for everyone to see. And then Batman, in the meantime, finds a way to cure his paralysis, and he comes back to Gotham ready to become Batman again, but now Azrael won't give up the mantle. And so there's this great cat and mouse game that comes in where Batman has to find a way to get Azrael to take the costume off, because when he takes the costume off, he stops being Azrael and he goes back to being the human person that Batman can reason with. And it's just this great story. It's long as hell, and they'd have to do like 3 movies, but it's a great story.
My thing with original Azrael is that his name is John Paul something.
Yeah.
And I forget his name now. I had an Azrael phase for a while, but the first Azrael is John Paul something, but like now in the present day, every time I try to think of his name, I just keep going Jean-Pierre Paul.
Now that's the movie I want to see. But yeah, I'd love that. I would love to see the Fantastic Four done well. I think it can be done. I think it just needs to be done correctly. I want to see Ron Perlman as Galactus at some point.
I agree with that. And I did do the research. There's nothing confirming it. I think I was reading some kind of rumor thing.
Mm-hmm.
So as of right now, nothing confirmed. But
maybe at some point it'll come
They did
up.
the Death and Return of Superman. So
maybe at some point. I think that Nightfall isn't as highly regarded as Death and Return of Superman, unfortunately.
But I'm just saying, like, they've been in a... and they just did Hush.
Yeah.
And so, like, they've been doing, like, a stint of classic stories.
So maybe it'll come
like
up.
It'll come up eventually.
Yeah. So I'd like either of those, and I would love to see a Spider-Man movie where they do the Lizard well.
Yes.
Well being the key term here. Amazing Spider-Man did not do him well.
Correct.
I want to do, like, the full, like, lizardy face lizard
He's
and just
a
like
lizard.
Yeah, he's just like a lizard man, and he's a little more animalistic than he was in that movie. Just there's more to be done with that
more
character.
Lizard, less man.
Yeah, he is my favorite supervillain for better or worse, and he has been since I was a very small child. Arguably the reason why I ever became interested in comics was because I liked the Lizard. He was my Godzilla gateway into comics that opened the door and allowed me to not fully reject comic books as a whole.
It's true.
So I would love to see the Lizard done well in a Spider-Man movie.
Yes, I think that's a good step.
And those are my perfect superhero movies.
All
and
right,
so before we go, me and Jake want to end each episode by giving you guys a recommendation, not necessarily on the topic we've been talking about, just something that we have been enjoying recently. This week.
Any time, just in general, anything that we would recommend to you guys.
Yeah, I want to keep it something recent though.
Yeah,
something
it's something we experienced,
new.
but like it doesn't have to, like, the thing itself doesn't have to be new.
No, it's just
something
we ourselves have just recently experienced it, and we want to share it with you.
Yes.
So Jake, what's yours? What's your recommendation?
Going to be the game I've been playing a lot recently, Fire Emblem Three Houses. My perfect children. Have you ever wondered what it was like to teach high school? Well, now you can find out in this lovely, definitely not Harry Potter at all kind of thing, video game for the Switch, Nintendo Switch. My dad works there.
You got the pre-release copy in December.
I have the secret one where you can marry Claude as a man. But yeah, so it's if you're completely unfamiliar with the Fire Emblem series, it is a strategy game where you're on a map and you have your units, and the units are named characters, and you move them around, and they have different weapon styles and stuff like that. But in this game, they're just the characters, and then you train them as you're their teacher, you're a professor at their school, and you train them however you want. And they have strengths and weaknesses because they're people, and you can play off that, or you can some of them you can like beat the weakness out of certain things, and then they get extra boosts because you've broken through the hidden potential and stuff like that. Just teacher stuff, and it's really cool. And there's the support system is called, which is literally just everyone talks to each other and they become friends, and you get boosts on the battlefield. But you get, like, the best part is just them interacting, and the best part of the game is when you're on your day off and you're walking around the monastery and you're like just talking to the students and having a good time. And you're trying to get Bernadetta out of her room because she's a reclusive shut-in, and you help Raphael find more meat to eat, and you get Hilda to stop making people do her laundry for her, and it's great. It's a good time. And then Flane has fish in her hair. And it's a good time, and I really had a good time with that. So that's my recommendation.
It's fantastic. My recommendations for this week are going to be an anime that I've been watching called Inuyashiki Last Hero. I didn't pronounce that right. Type in Last Hero on Amazon Prime and it comes up.
It's by the Gantz man.
Yeah, it's by the guy that made Gantz, which is not a selling point, I recognize. I watched Gantz like last year, and it was an experiment in self-loathing. Where I couldn't stop watching. It was like watching a car
Fear
crash.
And self-loathing in Gantz.
Fear and self-loathing in Cameron's basement in the middle of December. Where I was just watching Gantz and I was like, I hate this. This is bad. I hate it. This is making me feel like a bad person. But I just watched the entire thing in like 2 days, which never happens for me. And so when I heard about this show and I heard it was the guy that made Gantz, I went into it very cautious, where I was like, I don't want that experience again. And it's not. It's completely different. That creator has matured and just made something that is wholly one of the best animes I think I've ever watched. The basic plot of it is it's a salaryman, this very like down on his luck salaryman, and this completely sociopathic maniac high school student both get crashed into by a UFO that kills them, and then the UFO rebuilds them using these like battle robots that they have on board the ship. So it's the characters, they have all their own memories and stuff, but they don't have, and they look like themselves on the outside, but inside they're these androids, these like war androids essentially. And it's the story of how the old salaryman immediately begins using these powers to help people and just do great things, and the high school student starts using them to hurt people just because that's who he is as a human being. And where I was initially a little wary of this, because when they show the high school student doing his thing, you get some of that Gantz feeling of cruelty and this vicious mean-spiritedness. But what was offset that for me was just how genuinely kind and warm the other part of the show feels. And so like you feel the sadness and tragedy and anger of seeing a family just destroyed in their own home for no reason, but then they immediately offset that with the complete and utter like feeling of joy you would get watching this genuinely good human being like cry with happiness, realizing that he can save the life of a cat that's just been hit by a car. Like, it's just these small acts of kindness that offset these huge acts of evil. And in general, it robs you of the catharsis that I thought it was going to give of seeing this villain taken down, because it never stops treating him like a human being with emotions. And so where I am now in the midpoint of the show about, you have started to feel bad for this person who you thought you never could feel any emotion other than hate for. And I think it's just tightly plotted, amazing show.
And vaguely related to our theme.
Vaguely related to our theme of superheroes. So go into it if you think you have the stomach for it. It is difficult to watch at times. If you don't have the stomach for it, very quickly, I will recommend a video game. The Wipeout Omega HD collection is a very fun racing futuristic game. I don't like racing games, but I really like this game. So if you don't like racing games, but you liked the pod racing scene in Star Wars Episode 1, play this shit, because you will enjoy it.
Absolutely.
And that's...
If I get to make a second recommendation, I recommend the anime Dirty Pair.
Yes! Dirty Pair is fantastic.
And so now we did that.
Yeah.
So we've talked your ear off enough. So we're gonna call it for now. There will be more.
Absolutely.
We will continue to go off about these dumb things that maybe you're vaguely interested in.
So I'm Cameron.
And I'm Jake.
And if you're listening to this, that means we made it, fam. Have a good night.